It is bracket time. March Madness is here once again, and we are here to break down each and every single region and give you our Final Four picks. We'll also throw in some of our favorite bets to place during the next couple of weeks. This is Always Talking Ball. Tyler Noe, Lance Barton. Traditionally, we are a college football podcast, but this is our podcast. We'll do whatever we want to. We're talking March Madness this week because it is that time of year. It's one of the best times of year. We're going to jump right into the regions here, but before we get to that, if you guys are interested in joining a bracket challenge or a knockout/survivor pool, head over to X or Instagram. Always Talking Ball, always talk ball on X. DM us. Let us know you're interested. We will let you know how to join. Also, make sure you check out our latest gear from homefieldapparel.com. Scan that QR code in the top right corner if you're watching on YouTube. And when you get to checkout, type in promo code ATB15 for 15% off your first order. They have all kinds of basketball gear to get you ready for March Madness. Also, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and share with your friends. Let's finish it off with the West region, and then we'll hit up the Elite Eight after this. Florida gets the 4th 1 seed, but they are playing like probably the number 1 overall seed if you had to judge them here in the last month. Like, you've been saying it for a month, man, and they were one. Like, I try to identify teams, December, January, that I think like have been playing like UConn, in the past couple of years, how UConn's played, and you can just kind of tell a difference, man. And I was a little late to the game on Florida this year. I don't know if it was because they suffered a couple early SEC losses. They kind of flew under the radar because they didn't play anybody in the non-conference schedule. They beat Wake Forest and North Carolina. Like, they just didn't have many challenges. But man, they are absolutely electric. Like, they are so fun to watch. They can kill you in the backcourt. They can kill you in the front court. Todd Golden just has an embarrassment of riches there.
Yeah, he does, man. And back to the story that Tyler's telling here. I told him before Florida went to Auburn earlier this year on a Saturday, pretty much Auburn's about unbeatable. It had been for the last few years in the jungle down there at Neville Arena. And I told him, I said, I think Florida's the best team in the country. I think they can beat Auburn in this game. And Florida went and honestly clapped Auburn's cheeks. I mean, it was a spanking. Yep. And from that point forward, Florida spanked everybody. I mean, they went on a tear down
except
the stretch.
For Georgia.
Yeah, that's true. Except for Georgia. Good point. Mike White got a win against his old squad there in Athens. And then go through the SEC tournament and just beat, Mizzou, quad 1 win, Bama, quad 1 win, Tennessee in the SEC championship game. Didn't really have any trouble with anybody. They literally have zero weaknesses, man. They've got 4 guys that are 6'10" or bigger. All 4 can run the floor. All 4 are rim protectors. 2 of them can shoot the 3. They play well together. They all pass very well. 3 of them can handle the ball well. They've got 4 guards that are just about as good as anybody in the country. They've got size. They've got length. They can defend. And they've got who might be the best point guard in the entire country, and Walter Clayton Jr., who is a walking freaking bucket and is smooth as silk at the point guard position.
Every shot he takes, I think, is going in.
Dude, you're right, man. It really, as a Bama fan that has played this bunch twice, and literally it's like, I just feel so helpless going into the game. I'm like, they're just an awful matchup for Bama. They're an awful matchup, though, for literally everybody. They're the 4th 1 seed, and I can promise you, nobody wants to see this bunch. But they might be the team, man, that's going in hotter than going into the NCAA tournament that we're sitting here talking. Everybody else is saying the same thing, man. They've got no weaknesses. They're the hottest team in the country. They're the best team in the last month or two, whatever. That's all well and good, but it's literally a brand new season starting now.
I mean, that was kind of like Auburn last year. Like, they were a 4 seed, but they had caught fire at the end. They won the SEC tournament. Bam, Yale comes and punches them in the mouth. And
100%. I mean, you could easily see a situation here where round 2, if Danny Hurley and UConn are sitting there waiting on them in round 2, and the pedigree that are the UConn Huskies and the back-to-back national champs. I mean, hey, Florida, congrats. We're going to give you a 1 seed and let you possibly get the back-to-back natty champs in round 2. That enough of me glazing over Florida here. But yeah, starting off at the top here, I've got Florida beating Norfolk State. And no offense to old Porter Moser in Oklahoma, but I've got Danny Hurley and UConn getting it done against the Sooners.
Yeah, I got Florida winning. I've got UConn winning as well, but Danny Hurley,
That's your boy, man.
he's a heck of a coach.
You're being nice.
In my mind, he's a little bit of a front runner. To be honest with you, he's done a lot of crying this year, and his team is an 8 seed, right? They're not a 1 seed like they were last year, or a 4 seed like they were the year before. Maybe he'll catch fire again here in March Madness. It didn't work out well for him in the Big East tournament against Creighton, but they haven't looked good this year. It all started in Maui when they just were atrocious there, but
Yeah, they were.
he's still a heck of a coach. Got a lot of respect for him as a coach.
They're the definition of what I was just talking about, man. It's a brand new season. Well, everything that you've done up to this point, seriously, scratch it. It really doesn't mean shit at this point. Like, okay, you're seeded what you're seeded. We can all talk about who's underseeded, overseeded, bad matchup, great matchup, whatever. It's now put the ball. Let's tip it off, and who's going to be the best team on the floor in this game. Yep. And UConn could absolutely go on a run here. But yeah, I've got them taking down Oklahoma in round 1.
This is the region that I have the most first round upsets in.
You got the Rams. You got the Rams taking down.
Hey, I'm going to start it off with the Rams. 12 seed is favored over a 5 seed. 2.5 points. That pretty much. Vegas they don't have a lot of tall buildings for no reason, right? They know something, and you're going to have to prove to me that Penny Hardaway is a better coach than Nico Medved. He's got some athletes there at Memphis. They finally won the American tournament. I just think that Nick Clifford and those guys at Colorado State, they're on fire. Like, they are, as in the last month of the season, according to Bart Torvik, they're the 8th best team in the country.
Yeah, they've been dominant down the stretch.
Yeah. And so, I'd be a fool. I took them every game in the Mountain West tournament. And they won that. And so I'd be a fool not to take Colorado State to beat Memphis. And then the other pod game, Grand Canyon with Bryce Drew. Not Bryce Drew. Is it Bryce Drew? Yeah, Bryce Drew. They've got probably an NBA player there in Tyon Grant Foster. Obviously, you know him well from last March Madness, but I got Maryland. Just that Crab 5. Those guys can score the bucket.
That's better, by the way. That's a better name than the Fab 5. The Crab 5 is such a G name for a starting 5.
Yeah, and Derek Queen just went absolutely nuts in the Big Ten tournament. And for a freshman, he moves super well for a big man. And I think Maryland gets it done over Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I was trying to look down here and see if RJ Hunter, what his status was for Memphis as we're sitting here recording.
You mean Tyrese Hunter?
Tyrese Hunter, sorry, yeah.
Doesn't sound promising from what I've heard.
Yeah, man. That's such a dude. This is the best team that Penny has had. Team. He's had a lot of talent since he's been there, but this team has performed the best of any team that he's had so far. Obviously, that speaks volumes there too. They're a 5 seed, but dude, listen to some of these wins they've had.
Again, Missouri. You mentioned 5 seed. That they're the other team that I was like, that they get the fact that they got a 5 seed and they're ranked 51st in KenPom, right in front of Utah State, right behind Vanderbilt. Like, I think maybe people were just sick and tired of seeing Memphis on that 8-9 line. That's where they belong this year, to be honest.
I was surprised that Michigan got the same exact seed that Memphis got. Again, it's not Memphis's fault that they play in the conference that they play in. This is a story for another day, but the Big 12 should have brought them as well. But Memphis beat Missouri in the non-conference. They beat the Dons in San Francisco in the non-conference. They beat UConn in the non-conference. They beat Sparty and Michigan State in the non-conference. They played Auburn in the non-conference, did not win. They beat Clemson in the non-conference. They beat Virginia in the non-conference. They beat Ole Miss in the non-conference. You can't do any more than that as a quote-unquote mid-major. Like, I know they're in a mid-major conference, but I don't count Memphis as a mid-major team personally. With the talent that they've got and the type of talent pool that they bring in there in general. I know Colorado State's hot right now, man. I'm actually going to pick Memphis to win this game.
You got family there. So.
I got family there, bro. I got the father-in-law. The brother-in-law was on a manager scholarship on the Memphis team that went to the national championship game with old D Rose in that bunch. But
Yeah.
also, too, I just told you with that non-conference what that deal was. When Memphis steps up and plays the top upper echelon competition, like they're a handful. And and I think they probably feel a little disrespect too of being an underdog in this situation, and everybody talking about how they shouldn't have been a 5 seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember too when I think it was Florida Atlantic when they went to the Final Four that year. They had a round 1 matchup where they literally, I mean, it came down to the buzzer
Mm-hmm.
against Penny Hardaway's Memphis bunch.
Yeah.
In that game. So again, when the lights get bright and they play the step up of competition and play the better teams, Memphis plays well. So I know Colorado State, that is, in my opinion, the most trendy pick of the 12-5s for obvious reasons. Like you just said, literally Vegas has them favored.
I think that was my first Mountain West pick of the tournament, Colorado State.
There you go. See, now you're back to Mountain West Noe again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got the 901, the Memphis Tigers taking down Colorado State in that matchup. And hey man, sign me up for a track meet with the Crab Five and the Memphis Tigers in the second round.
Okay.
That's what I've got. I've got Maryland taking down the Antelopes of Grand Canyon in the first round.
Okay, I told you I had a couple more upsets in this region, and here's another one, man. I'm picking Drake.
I saw your graphic, and I was like, "Ooh, that must mean he has Drake."
Bennett Sturts and Drake and Ben McCollum, 30 wins this year. I took him too, plus 6.5 on the spread. Missouri's good. Like Missouri's really, really good, right? But 6.5 points for a 30-win team, like that's a lot of points.
Hey, hear me out, bro. Hear me out. I'm not saying Indiana should hire him. This is random. I'm not saying Indiana should hire him. But if Indiana were to hire Ben McCollum, it'd be set up so perfect for him just to step up to the podium for his opening press conference and just literally look at him and say, everywhere I've gone, everywhere I've been, all I do is win. Google me.
Yeah.
Google me.
Yeah.
Because that's what he's done everywhere. He has won his ass off.
Yeah.
And I know it's going to shock you. I've got Mizzou, SEC team, winning this game. But, dude, one of my buddies here in St. Louis, it's a Mizzou grad, I'm going to be watching the games with him this week.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was like, I don't think we're going to have any problem with Drake. And I told him, I said, man, be careful.
Yeah.
The Drake is absolutely one of those teams in the mid-majors that year after year, it doesn't seem to matter who's coaching them. What a hire, by the way. Finally giving Ben McCollum a shot at this level. Yeah. But a 30-win Drake Bulldog squad. I don't dislike the pick there, man, but I really like this Mizzou team for real.
Yeah, we're talking about a Missouri team that beat Florida at Florida.
Exactly. And I think they just scored again on Alabama.
Yeah.
But I mean they're older, they're more experienced. They did a really good job in the transfer portal. Dennis Gates did a great job in the transfer portal. Mark Mitchell, they held him out of the SEC tournament to make sure that he is going to be fully healthy in this NCAA tournament. So I do think it's going to be a freaking war in that game, and Drake gives them all they want. By the way, it's the first time I've used the reference of a warrior. I know you're probably proud of me. But I'm going to take Mizzou in that matchup in a close game. And I've got Mizzou playing Texas Tech. I just don't think UNC Wilmington, Texas Tech, man, and Grant McCasland, that is one tough bunch there in Lubbock.
They're getting Chance McMillan back and Darian Williams back too.
Yeah, dude, that's a team. And this bracket, man, there's multiple teams that I've looked at that I'm like, I could see them making a run. That is absolutely I've got them in Kentucky. Obviously, I already got Kentucky in the Elite Eight. Kentucky and Texas Tech were the 3 seeds that I felt could make a serious run at a possibility of making a Final Four.
Yeah. Bottom pod there, last pod. Bill Self versus John Calipari, Kansas versus Arkansas. And then you got Rick Pitino in the same pod, all in Providence, where Rick Pitino was once coach against Omaha. I'm going to take another upset. I'm going to take Coach Cal to beat the Jayhawks because they're just two teams right now going in completely opposite directions. Yep. And rumor has it Boogie Flan may be back for Arkansas. I'm not sure that's a good or bad thing because they played pretty well without him, but Kansas, man, like preseason favorite, them and UConn were preseason betting favorites. to win it all, to cut down the nets at like plus 900, right? And one's an 8 seed, one's a 7 seed. Hasn't panned out like Bill Self and the Jayhawks have wanted to after they spent all that money. Getting obviously Hunter Dickinson staying and getting what's his face,
Rylan Griffin from Alabama.
Yeah, get Rylan. What's his face from Wisconsin? Store.
Yeah.
It just hasn't worked out for him. So I'm going to take Arkansas to beat them, and I'm going to take Coach Cal to face off with Coach Pitino in the round of 32.
I'm with you, man. I've got Arkansas and St. John's. Honestly, I think the Kansas-Arkansas game is a complete toss-up. Kansas falls into that category of Danny Hurley and UConn for me, of it's a new season. All the stuff you've done before now doesn't make a shit. And I could see Kansas out of nowhere just rock chalk Jayhawking through the NCAA tournament out of nowhere and going on a run with the talent that they've got. Like you said, preseason #1 team in the country. Now they're a 7 seed. But I just want to see Calipari versus Ricky P. I want to see that matchup in the round of 32. So I've got Arkansas beating Kansas there. And I was mentioning earlier, I said as far as the round of 32 goes and the matchups that we could have that would headline the overall round of 32, giving me some Ricky P versus Coach Cal and Houston and the Zags in the round of 32 would be just fantastic stuff, man. I would love to see that. So it sounds like we've gone through there. So I'm going to start back up at the top here. We both got Florida and UConn.
Yep.
I've got Florida winning, man.
Yep.
Again, I just
6.
Yeah, I've got Florida winning. I just think that they are the best team in the country right now. Would it shock me if Danny Hurley and UConn beat them? It would not. It might shock you.
I actually would be shocked.
Yeah, it might shock you. You've been on it pretty early, man. You were on it early with the UConn, and it wasn't the same. Really early. I know it's easy to say that now, but I'm gonna give you credit that like we're talking about. Like I know everybody after the Maui Invitational that everybody was on them pretty hard, and they won some games after that. But like you never once shot away from saying that they're not a very good team.
This ain't it this year.
Yeah, so if that's the case, and if you're right about that, then Florida might clap their cheeks in that second round. And then I've got Memphis and Maryland, the Crab Five, and Memphis there in the second round. And I'm going to take Old Willard and Maryland there in the second round, but I don't feel great about it. I don't feel great about it one bit, man. If Hunter, let me say this as I'm saying this now, because we can obviously, people can listen back to this. If Hunter happens to come back healthy for Memphis for that second round game, if he's a go, I'll change my pick.
Yeah,
I think Memphis wins that game if he's playing. That's how much I think he means to this Memphis team. And again, athletically, depth wise, all of that, Memphis doesn't have to take a back seat to Maryland, but like. You got a nickname called the Crab Five, one of the best starting fives, highest scoring starting fives in the country.
Yeah.
I think that sets up a great matchup there with Florida and Maryland in the Sweet 16.
Yeah. Well, I've got Maryland versus Colorado State.
You got Colorado State, don't you?
Well, you mentioned obviously. Maryland's 315th in the country in bench minutes, so they don't play a lot of guys on the bench, but. Man, I was tempted to take Colorado State. I really was. But I'm with you, man. For some reason, I'm going to trust Kevin Willard. And, I mean, they're locking him up, making him the top 10 highest paid coach in the country.
Has he ever made it to the second weekend?
No. We might be crazy, but this is the year, I guess.
But hey, to our defense here, if it's Penny and Memphis or Colorado State, I don't think either one of those have made it to the second weekend.
No.
So somebody's got to do it. Might as well be Kevin Willard in the Crab Five. By the way, dude,
I'm going to trust the metrics.
Now that you just said that, all I've heard from this week and studying up stuff too, reading things on these games, we're trying to find every little nugget we can. I've heard about the bragging of how Maryland's got the highest scoring starting five in the country. Well, yeah, that makes sense. The lowest amount of bench minutes in the country.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they play more minutes than everybody else. Of course, they're going to have the highest scoring starting five. Get out of here. You're the Crab Five. You should be. After that, I know you've got Drake taking down Mizzou. I do not have Dennis Gates and Mizzou to get into done there. So I've got Mizzou playing Texas Tech. I got Texas Tech winning that game, man. I love this Red Raiders bunch. Guns up. I think that they could absolutely make a run here in this bracket. Again, that'd be a fantastic matchup, but I like Texas Tech's defensive ability, overall physicality, depth in that game, getting back, getting healthy. Give me Grant McCaslin and guns up and the Red Raiders in that matchup.
Yeah, I've got Texas Tech beating Drake. Getting those two guys healthy back again. I think they're a solid team, man. Like 7 or 8 in Ken Palm. Like just they won at Houston earlier this year. I mean, they're the only team to beat Houston since November. So that's an amazing feat right there. So I got them 16.
I remember watching them too, in that game too. But I watched them go into Fog Allen when Kansas had their backs against the wall. The whole world, including me, backed Kansas in that game. And Texas Tech just came in there and put them on the table and absolutely just did work and beat Kansas in Fog Allen like that. Kansas has had their issues this year, but they've still won the majority of their games in Fog Allen. There's still a handful there. So to beat Kansas in Fog Allen like that, to beat Houston, like you said, that's just in Houston. That's
and to win at BYU.
Yeah, win at BYU. That's a dang good basketball team, man. And I know a lot of people are going to look at that don't really, like you just said, they've had some injuries down the stretch that's prevented them from probably being as good as what they can be. Now they're getting those guys back. Yeah, man.
Dude, think about the injuries they've had, and they're still ranked 7th in Ken Palm.
Yeah, I mean they're a handful, dude.
Yeah,
I could see.
So I got them playing. I got them playing St. John's. I got St. John's over Arkansas.
Same.
Don't be surprised if you watch that game and St. John's starts a little slow, but man, do they pick it up midway through the first half like they have the past couple games. And so I think Texas Tech St. John's would be a heck of a game.
Yeah, I could see St. John's turning Arkansas over so many times.
Yeah,
in that game with that Ricky P defense that they're going to throw out there. So yeah, I've got St. John's as well.
Were you surprised you only had 6 SEC teams in the Sweet 16?
Am I surprised?
Yeah.
No, I mean there's freaking 14 of them in here, so some of them's got to win some games.
Did you think you were going to have higher or lower?
I thought that'd be about right.
Okay.
I got a buddy here that's a big Illini fan that was telling me that he wanted to make a bet with me, just like a friendly wager, that he thought that there'd be more Big Ten teams that would make the Sweet 16 over the SEC. And as it got a little closer down the stretch, I started thinking about I had no idea there were going to be 14 teams. I thought there was going to be 12 personally out of the SEC. I started thinking about Wisco, Michigan, Maryland, Sparty, and those bunches possibly making a little run of the Illini. I mean, it's not out of the question that those teams could make a run there in the Sweet 16. But yeah,
I've got 4 SEC and 4 Big Ten in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, and that absolutely could happen.
Yeah,
that absolutely could happen.
All right, so Florida versus Maryland. I think we're both taking Florida, right?
Gators.
Yeah, pretty self-explanatory there. And then Texas Tech St. John's would be a heck of a game in the Sweet 16. And man, I've texted you the other day, as much as I would love to see Florida, St. John's, and the Elite Eight, it's just the Texas Tech. I just think they would have too much for St. John's in that game. Man, if they're all healthy, right? And I think Texas Tech would beat St. John's. I got Florida, Texas Tech in the Elite Eight.
I'm with you. I've got Texas Tech in the Elite Eight as well. It'd be a great story too. Walter Clayton Jr., the point guard, who might be first team All-American point guard for Florida. He got his start at Iona with Rick Pitino. He was a high school football star in the state of Florida. He switched to basketball. I mean, he played basketball, but he basically just gave up football to play basketball. And he was a high school senior during COVID and didn't get seen by a lot of coaches. And of course, Ricky P is not one of the best coaches in ever for a reason. He found some guys that knew.
Some would say he's the best coach ever.
Yeah, I know. Our boy, shout out Cole Frederick, knockout pool, baby. But yeah, I mean, he's one of the best ever. And he found Walter Clayton Jr., loved his toughness, loved his style of play, brought him to Iona, and it made Walter Clayton Jr. has done some interviews this year and said that him going to get the tutelage of Rick Pitino, and he grew up, became a man. His toughness that he still has today, a lot of that's from football, but a lot of that was from Rick Pitino. So seeing Rick Pitino and St. John's getting to play against Walter Clayton in Florida, that'd be cool. But I'm with you, man. I think it's guns up, Texas Tech and Florida in the Elite Eight.